Hello, hello, hello everyone, and welcome to another Top 10. Today, we are doing the Top 10 most difficult catches in Generation 3. Now, before we get into this, I should explain a little bit about what this is and why we're talking about this. First and foremost, welcome. My name is Cruel. I am a speedrunner of many a Pokemon game, and one of the things I like to do is called the Co-op Catch 'em All Glitchless. This is a thing, a run where we get together with 3, 4, 5, however many people it takes, however many games there are, with the attempt of getting the national decks as fast as possible. Now, one of the most difficult ones of this is the Generation 3 Diploma run. This is where we sit with 5 people to try and get the Diploma as fast as possible. Games we're going to be talking about are Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, Fire Red, and Leaf Green. So today, I want to take those Pokemon, go through the list, and see which of these Pokemon are the most difficult to obtain. Number 10. Starting off our list, I'm going to start with Porygon 2. Now, Porygon 2 isn't necessarily a very difficult Pokemon to obtain. The upgrade is relatively easy to find, as you can just get that in the Rocket Hideout. However, the reason it's on the list in the first place is just the amount of money it takes to buy a Porygon in general. In Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green, just like in the original Pokemon game, the only way to get Porygon is through the game corner. And boy, is it still expensive. Now, in the original, you could only get Porygon in the Celadon Game Corner for 6,500 coins or 9,999 coins depending on your version. In Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green, this is the same situation, where in Fire Red you can buy Porygon at level 26 for 9,999 coins, or in Leaf Green for 6,500 coins, but it'll only be level 18. This makes this the most expensive Pokemon to obtain, and though money isn't exactly short over the course of the run, it does still take quite a bit of effort to get either that much money or to spend that much time gambling. For the purpose of the speedrun, we specifically try to buy Porygon in Leaf Green because that's just the cheapest way to get it. But yeah, that's also why it's only number 10. Number 9. For number 9 on our list, we have Stantler. Now, the reason I'm including Stantler on this list isn't necessarily because it's a very difficult Pokemon to get. Stantler is a 5% encounter in the Safari Zone in Pokemon Emerald. Now, the reason I'm naming Stantler specifically is actually in 2 parts. First off, in a Gen 3 co-op catch 'em all, you want to do the least amount of catches possible in specifically Emerald. This is because Emerald is going to have to get reset several times in order to actually catch everything. So getting Stantler, though not necessarily a problem, it is just that one extra catch that you have to get out of the way. Emerald is also the game that you, generally speaking, spend the most time doing stuff other than catches. So to have to get out of your way for it, it's just kind of annoying. The other reason I'm including it is it's one of the few Pokemon that it's kind of difficult to do repel strats for, though not impossible. But it being a 5% encounter that is somewhat difficult to catch, its catch rate isn't great, you have to deal with it in the Safari Zone, so there's always that chance to run, combined with the fact that you already don't want to spend too much time catching this sort of stuff anyway, just kind of makes Stantler a bit of an annoyance. Not too bad a Pokemon, but definitely not the first one you'd want to go for. Number 8. Next up on our list is Nosepass. Now again, Nosepass isn't actually that difficult to get. You can encounter Nosepass by rock smashing the rocks in Granite Cave, and from there it's relatively easy to get. The problem is that Nosepass isn't super likely to show up, and generally you have to hit quite a few rocks before you can even get an encounter in the first place. Add to that the issue that if your repels are up, you will repel away Nosepass, which means that you have to break all the rocks, change the floor, come back taking all of those encounters along the way, only to have a chance of getting Nosepass. Alternatively, you can save near the rocks, and then keep rock smashing them in the hopes that you get the encounter, and then once you've rock smashed all of the rocks, just soft reset for it, and you'll eventually find Nosepass. Nosepass really is one of those Pokemon that isn't necessarily that bad, but it just takes quite a bit of effort to get, and it can sometimes be a little bit annoying, especially when you've already got so many other Pokemon to focus on that are generally even worse. That said, Nosepass is still one of the more out-of-the-way Pokemon, generally speaking, to get, so having to go back for it here really isn't ideal, though it's not the end of the world. So yeah, that's it for number 8, Nosepass. Number 7. Up next, we have Chimecho, probably the Pokemon with one of the lowest encounter rates on this list. Chimecho is only obtainable at the summit of Mount Pyre at 2% encounter rate, making it easily one of the lowest encounter rates that you have to deal with throughout the entire run. Now there is one big upside to Chimecho, and that's also probably why it is this low on the list. Though Chimecho is only a 2% encounter, it is possible to repel strat here. Most of the Pokemon at the summit of Mount Pyre are anywhere between level 24 and 30. So by having a level 28 Pokemon, which is the level that Chimecho is at the front of your party, you can guarantee that all of the Pokemon you get are at least level 28, upping the encounter rate to about 5%. It is still an incredibly low encounter rate, and you do have to pay attention that you always make sure to have a level 28 Pokemon in front. An issue that results in is that other Pokemon can potentially be faster, so that's something you'll have to deal with. But using that strategy, Chimecho is actually a very obtainable Pokemon, though it takes some routing to actually get a hold of. At number 6, we have the Regis. Now the Regis is another great example of a Pokemon that is not difficult to find, but more so just annoying to actually get. There's 3 Regis you have to deal with: Regirock, Regice, and Registeel. And the only way to even unlock them in the first place is by having a Wailord and a Relicanth in your party. Now I'm sure many of you are familiar with the quest, so I'm not going to go too much into detail. The reason I'm naming them in this list is that the Regis basically are always going to have to be obtained in the same game as a result of this first requirement. Having to unlock them in every game is just slow. Additionally, these are all 3 legendaries with a difficult catch rate that you're basically going to have to catch with Ultra Balls. Timer Balls in this game really aren't that great yet, and things like Dust Balls and Quick Balls aren't really a thing, so the catch rate is generally pretty low. Considering you have to go through all 3 of the Regis, each with their own requirement in their cave, it makes them rather tricky to get. But hey, at least the music when you fight them is awesome. I'll give them that. But yeah, the Regis just being a difficult catch, with many requirements to even find them in the first place, is really what makes them number 6 on this list. Number 5. For number 5 on our list, we have Latios and Latias. Now I'm sure it's no surprise to anyone that I would include some of the roamers on this list. Latios and Latias, again, are not Pokemon that are generally that difficult to get, but these are the Pokemon that we're going to be reserving our Master Balls for over the course of this run. The way you get Latios and Latias is you have to beat the game, and then on each of their respective version, either Ruby or Sapphire, or you can just get one of them in Emerald, you have to try and find this Pokemon. But the thing is, it will run away after a fight, or will basically run away on turn 1, and it'll change route every single time. Now the main issue is, initially you will not be able to tell where this Pokemon is. So the general strat we have is we go to, I believe it's Route 110, north of Slateport. We take the Acro Bike, we hop around a little bit in the grass, and then hope it shows up. And then if it doesn't, we'll just reset the route, come back, rinse and repeat. with a repel active to repel anything that isn't the Lati away. The downside of the strategy is that it can be slow. Generally speaking, it's not that bad, and you'll usually find it after a bit of time, but sometimes the Latis can be incredibly slow to show up, and having to basically just hop around, hope you find it, and then try again is really tedious at times. So that's why the Latis deserved a spot on this list. For number 4 on our list, we have Blissey. Now, Blissey is probably one you all saw coming, or at least you probably expected Chansey. Chansey is a Pokemon only obtainable in the Safari Zone, with probably the lowest actual encounter chance that you will find anywhere in the entire run. Chansey is incredibly rare, but even if you do find it, you still have to deal with the fact that it's only obtainable in the Safari Zone, which means even if you find it, you're still not guaranteed to catch it. This combination is already annoying, but then add to the fact that Chansey is a happiness evolution. Now, in other generations, it's generally pretty easy to do happiness evolutions, and even in Generation 3, it's really not terrible. You can, generally speaking, get through happiness evolutions pretty quickly, but Chansey, being a really rare encounter, being only obtainable in the Safari Zone, making it even worse despite it already being as bad as it is, and then having to deal with a happiness evolution just makes it that much worse. Now, just to give you an idea of how you generally want to approach happiness evolutions, for many, many Pokemon, it is worth it to, once you have the Pokemon, breed an egg for it. And the same is true for Chansey. Chansey is one of the longest hatches in the game, and then add to the fact that it then still needs to be grinded enough to have the happiness it needs, it's just a hassle. I mean, we're talking, at best, at a 4% encounter rate in the Safari Zone, getting it, then breeding it, and then getting enough happiness on it to evolve it. It is just a hassle to do, and it's definitely one of the worst Pokemon that we have to do in this run. There are 3 Pokemon that are definitely a lot worse than this one. Any idea who it is? Well, let's get into them. Number 3. So for number 3 on our list, we have the roaming legendaries from Fire Red and Leaf Green. These are Raikou, Entei, and Suicune. Why are they so bad, you ask? Well, see, for the rule set in the Gen 3 co-op Catch-em-all, we have 1 player per game, meaning we have 1 copy of Fire Red, 1 of Leaf Green, 1 of Ruby, 1 of Sapphire, and 1 of Emerald. And this plays into one of the biggest issues. After you've done the post-game in Fire Red and Leaf Green, 1 of the 3 roaming legendaries will unlock, either Raikou, Entei, or Suicune, but never all 3. This means that because you only have 2 copies of the game, you're going to have to play one of the games all the way to the end, beat the post-game, catch the roaming legendary, reset, and do all of that again to get the last one. Which one you get depends on your starter as well, meaning you can't just take the fastest starter and do the entire game several times with it. You actually have to pay attention to this. In the Gen 3 co-op Catch-em-all, you'll see that Fire Red will usually start with Charmander, where Leaf Green does its first run with Squirtle. These are the 2 fastest starters to do the entire run with. On the 3rd reset, once one of the games has reset, they will generally pick Bulbasaur, trade that Bulbasaur to another player, so that the other player can just quickly grind like 15 levels on it, and then they'll trade it back. Because it's been traded back, it will still have the same ID and secret ID, and therefore the game will think that it's your own Pokemon, which it technically is, and, just allow you to run with it without any obedience issues. But the hassle you have to go through to quickly beat the game the 3rd try, after already having beaten it all the way through the first time, is very time consuming and definitely one of the most annoying things you have to deal with in the entire run. There are still 2 Pokemon that are worse, so let's get into those. Number 2. Okay, time for probably the Pokemon that everyone expected to be on number 1 here. A list of difficult Gen 3 catches would not be allowed, or would not be complete, really, without this Pokemon. And that's Milotic. Or really, Feebas and Milotic. Feebas is notorious for being the worst catch in really just about any Pokemon game. Feebas is a 50% encounter on Route 119. The catch is, it's only catchable on 6 different tiles. This means to actually be able to get it, you're going to have to go through every single tile and hope that you'll catch it. Statistically, your best chance of actually getting a Feebas is by fishing once on every tile, on the entire route, and then hope you got it. But that still means that you're going to have to hope that you don't get the wrong 50% 6 times in a row, which is absolutely possible. If that happens, you're going to have to go through all of that again. Catching this Pokemon can take literal hours. And then to make matters even worse, you then have to evolve it into Milotic. The way you do that is by getting enough beauty Pokeblocks for it. So you have to make a bunch of those, feed it to the Feebas, and then hope that it'll actually be enough. Generally, actually getting enough isn't really the most difficult part because you can save for it, you can prepare for it, you can make sure that you have the right Pokeblocks for it and that they're of good enough quality. And additionally, once you have found a Feebas tile, it'll always be 50% there. Because of the DS clock, the GBA game clock usually not working anymore on most cartridges by now, the tile will always stay the same. So once you've found it, at least you know where you can get it. But Feebas is still such an annoying Pokemon to have to look for. Statistically, you're looking at about a 1% rate by fishing every tile once. This gets worse the more you try it. So really, Feebas is just awful, and there's really not much more to say about that. But surprisingly enough, it's not the worst Pokemon. Now I know what you're thinking, you probably all expected Feebas to be on top of this list. But there is one Pokemon that is significantly worse, and it's actually the reason for the Catch-em-all co-op in Gen 3 to take 3 days. If it wasn't for this Pokemon, it would be shorter by at least a full day. That's how bad this one is. Want to know who it is? Well, let's find out. Number 1. At the top of our list, we have, by far, the worst Pokemon to get in the game. And this one might surprise you, but it is the Johto Starters. Chikorita, Cyndaquil, and Totodile. The way you obtain the 3 Johto Starters in Generation 3 Pokemon is only via Pokemon Emerald. Emerald is the only Pokemon game where you can get them out of the 3. In order to do that, is that you have to complete the Hoenn on your Emerald cartridge. Now, that isn't so difficult, you might think, because, I mean, at the end of the day, we're trying to complete our decks in the first place. So, completing our Hoenn is only part of that, right? Well, here's the catch. Once you've completed your Hoenn, you can get 1 of the 3 starters. This means that what you have to do is you have to complete the Hoenn all the way from start to end, all 200 Pokemon there, go to Professor Birch, get 1 of the 3 starters, trade that over to the other game, and then do it all over again. These are 200 Pokemon you at that point have to obtain. You can speed this up a little bit, similar to how we did it with Leaf Green earlier, where you can reset for... once you reset, you trade your starter to one of the others, they can grind it up a little bit and you can get started. But the problem stays here. After that's all done, you have to get the entire dex again. So you have to beat the game, get the national dex, get all 200 Pokemon registered for your second starter, and then repeat it a third time for the third one as well. Trading, usually what we'll do in a co-op catch-em-all run is we will pretty much trade over a living dex. What that means is while the trading is going on and while Emerald is collecting its Pokemon, the other two players on Ruby and Sapphire will attempt to make a living dex, a dex where you actually have every single Pokemon so you can just trade them across the other games. That means that you have to do in the realm of 180 to 190 trades before you can get this one Pokemon. That takes approximately 8 hours each time you have to do it. If you wouldn't have to do this, this run would be shorter by nearly a day. That is how much time it takes to get the Johto Starters, and that's also why they're a fitting number 1 for this list. And there you have it, the top 10 most difficult catches in Pokemon Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, Fire Red, and Leaf Green. First of all, I want to give a thank you all for watching, but second, there's a few shoutouts I need to give. The footage you saw earlier from the games were from a Gen 3 co-op catch-em-all that me and some friends did. So I want to give a quick shout out to Feka Rules, Magnificent, Melissa, and Elisa. All of their channels were on the screen earlier. They have put up with a run like this before with me, and it's actually the second one we've done. The Gen 3 co-op catch-em-all is easily one of the most daunting in the entire series. For many of the games, Pokemon are sometimes difficult to get, but rarely are they as difficult as they are for Gen 3. Gen 3, despite having some of the lowest amounts of Pokemon in the entire series, with only 380 you need to obtain in order to get the diploma, still is on par with the length of the Gen 4 catch-em-all, and heck, even the Gen 6 catch-em-all. Pokemon Emerald as a co-op catch-em-all is just such a challenge because of how much training it needs to do. And I want to give a huge shout out to all of my friends for helping me along with this. All of their Twitch channels will be in the description. And with that, we're going to call it a day here. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you learned something new. And if not, well, hey, I hope you at least found it still interesting. If you did, be sure to leave a like, subscribe for more videos like this, as well as more of my challenge runs. I'm planning to upload a Fire Red All Trainers next week, and we'll see what we go with from there. Yeah, thank you everybody, and hope to see you guys around.